What would you do if you and your family were vacationing at a remote cabin, disconnected from the world, no cell service, no internet, and four strangers appeared on your doorstep, asking to come in, very politely, very calmly, but the way they ask is a little disturbing. They say, "Please, open the door. We need your help to save the world." Would you open the door? Well, that's what Cabin at the End of the World by Paul Tremblay is about. And today, we're going to dive into my thoughts on this book. So, stick around. Paul Tremblay is now an author I'm going to be paying very close attention to. I've already looked at what he's already written. I'm going to probably go back and read that stuff. And I'm going to be keeping a close eye on whatever happens in the future. Because this guy has talent. Tremblay's style of writing is very easy to just fall into. It's kind of like a soft bed waiting there for you, and you fall into it. And next thing you know, you've already read 100 pages and you've got like 50 left in the book. Cabin at the End of the World is written in present tense, which isn't something I'm used to. But now that I've read this book, I couldn't see it being written in past tense. It really feels like an experience, something that's happening to you, which is also a large contributor to why I read it so fast. The way this book is written makes you feel like you are there, you are living what these characters are living, and it's terrifying at times. His style is phenomenal, but by the end of the book, I looked back and I thought it was his character work that really hooked me on this book. It's the feelings you have for these people. Eric and Andrew, the two parents, have this really cool dynamic where one of them is more carefree and a little violent, and the other one is very worrisome and kind of a helicopter parent in a sense. And when they're thrown into this situation where people are trying to get into a cabin where their daughter is, it enters really interesting territories. You see different reactions from each parent, and they're realistic. The inciting event, when these people are trying to get into the cabin, there's not a whole lot of space before that starts happening in the book. But Tremblay builds three characters who feel dynamic and interesting in their own ways within this small portion of the book. And then he has this event happen, and he introduces you to four more characters that feel menacing and threatening. And it's the dynamic between the two parents and how they're dealing with the situation, but also you don't really hate these people trying to get into the cabin. You feel intrigued by their motives, and you feel interested by what they are trying to do. Tremblay uses his plot to tackle some really interesting concepts and themes. And I can almost talk about none of them without giving away the true plot of this book, which I won't do here, because this book needs to be experienced by readers firsthand. It's not something you should read up on, it's not something that you should find out more about before reading, because the beauty of this book lies in the slow building that is the plot. You find things out slowly, methodically, and it's very precise and to the point. Tremblay doesn't give away things he doesn't want his reader to know. There was a moment in this book where my heart was just beating into my chest. That's because the style had me by the socks, and the plot was something I was invested in, and the characters were something that I really truly cared about. And it feels like a holy trinity, almost, when you're reading a book and these three things come together and you just, you know, I can't really explain the feeling, but when real life emotions start to come into play, when a book makes you cry, when a book makes you gasp, when a book elevates your heart rate, these are moments that you know a book is special. And Cabin at the End of the World did that for me. However, there is one thing I didn't like about this book, and it's how ambiguous some things are left. There were a few moments in this book where I felt like I could have needed a little more explanation, or just a touch more time spent on a certain topic. But that is also a little nitpicky at this point, because after reading it and getting to the ending, I do believe that Tremblay leaves things ambiguous because he wants the reader to think about what they're reading. It also speaks to how well Tremblay is representing real life here, because in real life, you don't get all the answers. Some things are ambiguous just because they are, like the pyramids of Egypt. That's ambiguous, right? For the 6 or 7 hours I read this book, I felt like I was right alongside Wen and her parents, experiencing the same terrible, horrific things that they were experiencing. Cabin at the End of the World is a book about how far you are willing to go to save yourself, the ones you love, and possibly even the world. If you haven't read Cabin at the End of the World, then I hope I inspired you to at least pick it up and give it a try. If you have read Cabin at the End of the World, let me know what you thought in the comments down below. And while you're down there, consider subscribing if you like what I do here. As always, I will catch you next time, Book Bros. Have a great day.